Have you ever stood in the echoing aftermath of a departure? A door closed, a message left unanswered, a space in your life that was once filled with sound now hollowed out by a profound and unsettling silence. In that void, a storm begins to brew within you. It is a tempest of instinct, a primal urge to do something. To make a sound. To send a message that pierces the quiet, demanding to be heard. Your fingers hover over the screen, composing and deleting messages, each draft a testament to the war raging in your mind. One part of you screams for closure, for an explanation. Just tell me why, it pleads. Another part, fueled by the sting of wounded pride, yearns to make a grand, defiant gesture. To block them from your life, to build a digital wall so high it proclaims to the world, you cannot hurt me anymore. And then there is the most vulnerable part, the one that whispers in the dark, begging for a return to the way things were, believing that one more plea, one more declaration of love, will finally make them understand the value of what they have lost. Beg. Explain. Block. These are the three sirens of the heartbroken, the betrayed, the abandoned. They call to us from the shores of our pain, promising relief, promising a sense of control in a situation where we feel utterly powerless. We believe that action, any action, is preferable to the crushing weight of stillness. We mistake noise for strength and reaction for power. But the great Stoic philosophers, Marcus Aurelius, the emperor who ruled the world but fought his greatest battles within his own mind, Seneca, the statesman who advised emperors and wrote of the shortness of life, Epictetus, the slave who became one of history's most influential teachers of freedom, they would offer us a different path. A path that is quieter, deeper, and infinitely more powerful. They would tell us that in our frantic rush to react, we are giving away the very thing we seek to reclaim, our power, our peace, our freedom. This, my friends, is a journey into the heart of Stoic resilience. It is a masterclass in the art of the silent exit. This is not a guide on how to play games to win someone back. It is not a lesson in emotional manipulation. It is a profound spiritual discipline designed to help you win back yourself. We will explore why your silence is more formidable than your words, why your stillness is more powerful than your frantic movements, and why letting go is not an act of surrender, but the ultimate act of sovereignty. Prepare to unlearn everything your instincts are screaming at you to do. Prepare to walk the more difficult, but more rewarding, path of strategic silence. For in that silence, you will not find emptiness. You will find the unshakable foundation of your own inner citadel. Section 1, The Illusion of Action, Why Blocking, Begging, and Explaining Are Traps of the Ego. In the immediate shockwave of an emotional upheaval, the mind craves action as a drowning man craves air. We believe that by doing something, anything, we can assert control over a narrative that has slipped from our grasp. This impulse is not a sign of weakness, it is a deeply human response to pain and the perceived loss of agency. Yet, the Stoics teach us to look beyond our initial impressions, to examine our impulses with the cool, dispassionate eye of a physician diagnosing an ailment. What we often discover is that these frantic urges to act are not pathways to healing, but rather, sophisticated traps laid by our own ego. Let us dissect these three common reactions, blocking, begging, and explaining, through a Stoic lens, to understand why they disempower us, even when they feel like our only source of strength. First, let us consider the act of blocking. In the digital age, this is the equivalent of slamming a door in someone's face. It feels decisive, final, and powerful. With a single click, you excise them from your digital world. Their photos vanish, their updates cease, their access to you is severed. There is a momentary rush of satisfaction, a feeling of having taken back the power. You have made a statement, you are no longer welcome here. You are dead to me. But what is the nature of this statement? A Stoic would encourage us to look deeper. Is this an act of serene detachment, or is it a loud, emotional declaration? More often than not, blocking is a scream into the void. It is a performance of indifference designed to mask a deep well of hurt. It implicitly communicates, what you did affected me so profoundly that I must take this extreme measure to protect myself. You hold so much power over my peace that I must build a fortress to keep you out. From their perspective, your act of blocking is not a sign of your strength, but a confirmation of their impact. They know they got under your skin. They know they wounded you. Your reaction, however justified it may feel, has validated their importance in your emotional landscape. Seneca, in his treatise on anger, warned against such reactive measures. He saw anger not as a source of power, but as a temporary madness, a state in which we surrender our reason. He wrote, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay. Blocking is the opposite of delay. It is an immediate, impassioned response. It is a form of digital anger. While it may be a necessary boundary for some in cases of harassment, in the context of reclaiming personal power, it is often a move made from a place of weakness, not strength. It is a hot reaction, not a cool, calculated response. True power lies not in demonstrating that you have been hurt, but in reaching a state where their actions can no longer hurt you. That state is not achieved by building external walls, but by fortifying your inner citadel." Next, let us turn to the act of begging. This is perhaps the most transparent surrender of our dignity. When we plead with someone to stay, to reconsider, to see our worth, we are placing our value entirely in their hands. We are essentially saying, "Without you, I am diminished. My happiness, my sense of self, is contingent upon your presence and approval. Please, give me my worth back." This act comes from a place of profound fear, the fear of being alone, the fear of being worthless, the fear of having lost something irreplaceable. But Epictetus would remind us of the fundamental Stoic principle, the dichotomy of control. He would ask us, is another person's love for you within your control? Are their decisions, their feelings, their choices up to you? The answer, of course, is no. These things are externals, and to a Stoic, staking our tranquility on externals is the very definition of enslavement. When you beg, you are trying to control the uncontrollable. You are wrestling with reality itself, and reality will always win. You are also reinforcing their perception of a power imbalance. By placing yourself in the position of the supplicant, you elevate them to the status of a monarch who holds the key to your happiness. Why would they respect someone who clearly does not respect themselves enough to walk away with their head held high? Seneca would argue that a life of value is a life lived with self-respect. To beg is to willingly discard that respect. It is to trade your sovereignty for the mere possibility of their affection, an affection that, even if momentarily regained, would be built on a foundation of pity, not genuine admiration. The person who returns to you because you begged them to is not returning to an equal, they are returning to a subject. And that is a foundation for future misery, not future happiness. The Stoic path is to recognize your inherent worth, a worth that is not granted by another and therefore cannot be taken away by them. It is to stand firm in your own value, even and especially when another person fails to see it. Finally, we arrive at the most subtle and insidious trap, the urge to explain. This is the siren call of the intellect, the ego's desire for justice and validation. We construct elaborate arguments in our minds. We draft long, eloquent messages detailing their transgressions, our pain, and why we are right and they are wrong. We believe that if we can just articulate our position perfectly, if we can present the evidence of our value with enough clarity, they will have a moment of epiphany. They will see the error of their ways, acknowledge our worth, and perhaps even apologize. But in doing so, we have made a critical error. We have entered a courtroom of our own making, and we have appointed the person who hurt us as the judge. We are pleading our case to the very source of our injustice, seeking a verdict of worthy from the one who has already deemed us unworthy of their respect or affection. Marcus Aurelius would counsel us to turn our gaze inward. He would ask, why do you seek validation from an external source? Is your character not enough? Is your own judgment of yourself insufficient? To explain is to seek approval. It is to say, my perception of myself is not complete until you ratify it. This is a futile endeavor. People's perceptions are shaped by their own values, their own limitations, and their own narratives. You cannot reason someone into valuing you if their heart and mind are closed to it. Your long, perfectly crafted explanation will likely be perceived not as a moment of profound truth, but as a sign of your inability to let go. It reads as desperation, not strength. It signals that you are still mentally and emotionally entangled, that you are still seeking something from them. The truly powerful move is to offer no explanation. Your departure, your silence, your decision to move forward without looking back, that is the explanation. It is an action, not a petition. It states, unequivocally, my standards were not met. My peace was disturbed. My path lies elsewhere. I do not require your agreement or your understanding. This leaves no room for debate. It offers no footholds for their ego. It simply is. In conclusion, blocking, begging, and explaining are all movements away from our center. They are reactions that place the focus back on the other person, their reaction to being blocked, their response to our begging, their verdict on our explanation. The Stoic path, the path of power, is to make no move at all. It is to stand still, to pull our energy back, to turn our focus inward, and to begin the quiet, essential work of rebuilding our own inner world. This stillness is not passive. It is the most potent and strategic action you can take. Section 2, The Inner Citadel, Forging Strength in the Forge of Silence. When the external world falls into chaos, when the structures of a relationship crumble and leave us exposed, the Stoic does not look to rebuild what was lost. Instead, they turn their attention to the one fortress that can never be conquered unless they allow it, the inner citadel. This concept, most famously articulated by Marcus Aurelius in his Meditations, is not a physical place, but a state of mind, a sanctuary of reason, virtue, and tranquility that is immune to the whims of fortune and the actions of others. The period of silence following an exit is not a void to be endured, it is the construction site for this citadel. It is the forge where you will smelt the raw ore of your pain into the tempered steel of resilience. While the other person may perceive your silence as a mystery or an absence, for you, it must become a period of intense and purposeful activity. This is not about distracting yourself from the pain. It is about transmuting it. The first and most crucial tool in this construction is the dichotomy of control. This is the very bedrock of Stoic practice, taught relentlessly by Epictetus. He stated, "Some things are within our power, while others are not. Within our power are opinion, motivation, desire, aversion, and, in a word, whatever is of our own doing. Not within our power are our body, our property, our reputation, our office, and, in a word, whatever is not of our own doing." Your silence must become a living embodiment of this principle. What is not in your control? Their feelings, their regret, their new life, whether they miss you, whether they understand the pain they caused. To dwell on these things is to chain yourself to suffering. It is to pour your precious energy into a bottomless pit. So, you must begin a radical practice of mental triage. This can be done through journaling, a practice Marcus Aurelius himself used. Create 2 columns on a page. On one side, write, "Not in my control." On the other, "In my control." Under, "Not in my control," list all the obsessive thoughts that plague you. What are they doing right now? Do they think about me? Will they ever realize what they lost? Why did they choose someone else? Acknowledge these thoughts. See them for what they are, ghosts. Phantoms that have no substance and over which you have no power. To fight them is to give them strength. Instead, you simply label them as external and uncontrollable, and you consciously withdraw your attention from them. Now, turn to the second column, "In my control." This is where your work begins. This is your kingdom. What can you write here? My response to my own thoughts. My physical health, the food I eat, the exercise I undertake. The books I read, the knowledge I acquire. My commitment to my work or my craft. The kindness I show to others. My decision not to check their social media. My choice to wake up at a specific time and begin my day with purpose. This list is your new gospel. It is your blueprint for action. Your silence toward them becomes a loud, resounding yes to this list. Every ounce of energy you reclaim from obsessing over the uncontrollable is now fuel that can be poured into what you can control. This is how pain is transformed into purpose. The empty hours that were once filled with them are now filled with your own becoming. The second tool in the forge is memento mori, the reflection on mortality. This may seem morbid, but to the Stoics, it was the ultimate life-affirming practice. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." When you are consumed by the pain of a single relationship, your world shrinks. That person, that ending, becomes the center of your universe. Memento mori shatters this illusion. It forces you to zoom out and see the grand, terrifying, and beautiful brevity of your own existence. Is this person, this pain, this grievance, truly how you want to spend the precious, unrecoverable hours of your one and only life? The thought of your own mortality is a powerful clarifying agent. It burns away the trivialities. The petty need to be right, the desire for them to see your worth, the hours spent replaying conversations, all of it turns to ash in the face of this ultimate truth. Your time is finite. Will you spend it as a prisoner of the past, or as the architect of your remaining present? Memento mori compels you to act, but not to react. It urges you to get up, to live, to create, to experience, because the clock is ticking. The pain you feel, when viewed through this lens, becomes a catalyst. It is a wake-up call from the universe, reminding you not to waste your life on things that do not serve your growth and virtue. The third, and perhaps most advanced, tool is amor fati, the love of one's fate. This concept, championed by the Stoics and later by Nietzsche, is the practice of not merely accepting what happens, but loving it. It is to see every event, no matter how painful, as a necessary and vital part of your journey. This is not easy. It requires a radical shift in perspective. The breakup, the betrayal, the abandonment, you must learn to see it not as a tragedy that befell you, but as a curriculum designed specifically for you. This was a lesson you needed to learn. This was a fire you needed to walk through to burn away a weaker version of yourself. Ask yourself, what did this experience teach me about my own boundaries? What did it reveal about the kind of love I will no longer accept? How did this pain force me to become more self-reliant, more resilient? Amor fati is the art of saying, thank you for this, to the very thing that broke you. Thank you for this lesson. Thank you for this strength. Thank you for removing what was not meant for me to make space for what is. This is the ultimate act of reclaiming power. It is to look at your story, with all its scars, and declare, I would not have it any other way. This was necessary for me to become who I am now. When you can genuinely embrace this mindset, the other person's regret becomes utterly irrelevant. You no longer need them to regret their actions, because you are grateful for them. Their departure was not a loss, it was a gift. It was the catalyst for your own rebirth. And a person who has reached this state of mind is truly free. They are unshakable, for they have learned to turn every obstacle into a stepping stone. This is the work you do in the silence. You are not waiting. You are not hiding. You are forging. You are building. You are becoming the master of your own inner citadel, a fortress so strong that no external event can ever truly breach its walls again. Section 3, The Unread Letter, The Psychology of the Information Vacuum. Human beings are narrative creatures. Our minds are wired to seek patterns, to connect dots, and above all, to find closure. We crave endings that make sense, that tie up loose ends and allow us to file an experience away neatly in the archives of our memory. An unresolved story, an unanswered question, an unexplained departure, these things do not rest quietly in the mind. They create a state of cognitive dissonance, an open loop that our brain compulsively tries to close. This psychological phenomenon is known as the Zeigarnik effect, named after the psychologist Bluma Zeigarnik, who observed that waiters had better recollections of unpaid orders than of paid ones. Once the task was complete, the bill paid, the mind could let it go. But an incomplete task remained mentally active, demanding attention. When you choose the path of the silent exit, you are weaponizing this fundamental aspect of human psychology. Not as an act of aggression, but as a natural consequence of prioritizing your own peace. Your silence creates an information vacuum. You become the unpaid bill, the unfinished movie, the unread final chapter in the story of your shared experience. Think of the dynamic you are reversing. When you beg or explain, you are actively trying to write the final chapter for them. You are handing them the narrative, complete with your pain, your reasons, and your perspective. You are giving them the gift of closure. They can read your message, understand your position, and say to themselves, "Ah, I see. It's over. I understand why. Now I can move on." You have done the emotional labor for them. You have closed the loop. But when you vanish without a word, the loop remains wide open in their mind. They are left with only the sound of their own thoughts. The narrative is unfinished, and their brain, by its very nature, will work tirelessly to complete it. In the absence of new information from you, they are forced to turn inward and re-examine old information. What was the last thing I said to them? Did I miss a sign? Was it something I did? Why aren't they reacting? I expected anger, sadness, but this silence, what does it mean? They become the detective in the mystery of your departure. They will replay conversations, scrutinize past events, and search for clues they might have missed. Their mind becomes a projector, and you are the haunting, silent film playing on a loop. This is not something you are actively doing to them, it is what their own mind does to itself in the face of an unresolved situation. Let's revisit the analogy from the original script, but with more depth, the magician's vanishing act. You attend a grand magic show. The magician performs a series of dazzling tricks, building anticipation. For the grand finale, he presents a beautifully ornate box. He gestures, speaks of ancient mysteries, and places a precious object inside. The music swells. He makes a grand gesture, the lights flash, and he proclaims he will now make the object reappear across the stage. The audience leans in, holding its breath. And then, he simply walks off the stage. The house lights come up. The show is over. The audience is left in a state of profound unease. It's not anger, but a deep, gnawing curiosity. What happened? Was that the trick? How was it supposed to end? They will talk about that unfinished trick for days, far more than they will remember the completed ones. The mystery is more compelling than the revelation. By choosing the silent exit, you become that magician. You have taken the shared story, placed it in a box, and walked away without revealing the end. Their mind will be consumed with trying to figure out the trick. They will invent scenarios. At first, their ego will protect them. They're probably just being dramatic. They'll be back. But as the silence stretches on, that certainty will begin to erode. The information vacuum you have created allows their own doubts and insecurities to rush in and fill the space. What if they never cared as much as I thought? What if they found someone else and that's why they're silent? What if I was the one who misjudged the entire situation? This internal questioning is far more potent than any accusation you could ever level at them. Your words can be debated, your anger can be dismissed, but their own thoughts, their own creeping regret, that is an internal monologue they cannot escape. Your silence forces them to confront themselves. You are no longer the topic of conversation, their own role in the ending becomes the central theme. This is the quiet, devastating power of the unread letter. You hold all the answers they now crave, but you have no intention of sending the message. Your silence becomes the message. It says, I have moved on to a place where your understanding is no longer required. I have closed my side of the ledger. You are free to wrestle with yours alone. And in that wrestling, they may finally come to the understanding you once tried so desperately to explain. But by then, it will be for their benefit, not yours. You will have already found your peace. Section 4, the spectator's game, letting time and reality do the work. There comes a point on the Stoic path where the focus shifts from internal fortification to a state of serene observation. You have built the foundations of your inner citadel. You have mastered the art of non-reaction. Now, you enter a new phase, one where you allow two of the universe's most powerful forces to work on your behalf, time and reality. The temptation, even for the disciplined, is to perform their recovery. To post pictures of their newfound happiness, to subtly engineer situations where the other person can see how well they are doing. This, however, is still a trap of the ego. It is a form of indirect communication, a silent plea for them to see and regret. The true Stoic does not perform for an audience of one. They genuinely get on with the business of living, and in doing so, become a spectator to the natural unfolding of consequences. The phrase, "don't block, make them watch," requires a crucial refinement. It is not about leaving the window open so you can put on a show for them. It is about becoming so absorbed in building your own life that you forget they are even watching. Your indifference to their gaze is the key. You are not cultivating a life to prove them wrong, you are cultivating a life because it is your right and your duty to yourself to do so. The fact that they can see it is merely a side effect, not the goal. Think of it this way, you are tending to your own garden. You are enriching the soil, planting new seeds, watering them, and pulling weeds. You are so focused on the vibrant life blooming before you that you do not notice the person standing on the other side of the fence, watching over your wall. They see your garden flourish. They see the fruits of your labor. They see the beauty you are creating. And they see the barren patch of land they left behind. The contrast between your growth and their stagnation becomes a silent, powerful testament to the choice they made. You didn't have to say a word. The garden says it all. This is where the force of time becomes your ally. In the beginning, they may feel a sense of relief, of freedom. They are out exploring, distracting themselves, enjoying the novelty of their new situation. But novelty, by its nature, fades. Distractions become tiresome. And as time passes, reality begins to set in. They will encounter new people, new situations. And they will, consciously or unconsciously, begin to compare. They will realize that the way you listened, the way you understood them, the sense of peace you brought them, is not so easily replicated. The qualities they took for granted in you are revealed to be rare. As Seneca noted, we often do not appreciate what we have until it is gone. Time is the agent that reveals this truth. While you are using your time to build, to learn, to grow, to strengthen, they are often merely spending theirs. This creates a widening gap. You are on an upward trajectory of self-improvement, fueled by the very pain of their departure. You are becoming a new version of yourself, stronger, wiser, more centered. They, on the other hand, are often caught in the same patterns that led to the end of your relationship in the first place. When, and if, they look back after a significant period of time, they will not see the person they left. They will see someone who has outgrown them. They will see a life that has moved on, not performatively, but authentically. And this is the source of the deepest, most genuine regret. It is not the regret of losing what they had, but the regret of losing what they could have had if they had chosen to grow with you. It is the realization that they were not just a chapter in your book, but that they chose to exit the story just as it was getting interesting. Your role in this process is to do nothing but focus on your own path. You must resist the urge to check on them, to gauge their reaction, to seek signs of their remorse. To do so is to step back into the game. You must become a true spectator of your own life, moving forward with such intention that the past becomes a distant landscape in your rearview mirror. Let time and reality be the messengers. They are far more eloquent and convincing than you could ever be. Your job is simply to give them a magnificent story to tell, a story of your own becoming. Section 5, The Return of the Echo, Handling Their Inevitable Reappearance. Like a pendulum reaching the apex of its swing, the energy that has moved away will often, in time, swing back. After a period of sustained silence and your own genuine growth, it is almost inevitable that an echo from the past will return. It may come in the form of a simple, late-night text, "Hey," or perhaps a comment on a story, a nostalgic message about a shared memory, or a direct call. When this moment arrives, it is the ultimate test of your Stoic practice. All the work you have done to build your inner citadel, to master your reactions, and to find peace in your own sovereignty will be put on trial. The return of the echo is designed to pull you from your center, to re-engage you in the old dynamic, and to test the strength of your newfound freedom. The first thing you must do is observe your own internal reaction. Do you feel a jolt of excitement? A surge of anxiety? A flicker of hope? A wave of anger? These feelings are normal. They are the residual ghosts of the old attachment. A Stoic does not deny these feelings or feel ashamed of them. Instead, you acknowledge them with a kind of detached curiosity. Ah, there is excitement. Interesting. There is a memory of pain. You observe the emotion as you would observe a cloud passing in the sky. You see it, you name it, but you do not become it. You do not act upon it. You breathe. You create a space between the stimulus, the message, and your response. The second step is to analyze their motive with dispassionate reason. Why are they reaching out now? While there is a small possibility of genuine remorse and a desire for reconciliation, it is far more likely that their motive is rooted in their own needs, not yours. Consider the common reasons for their return. Boredom or loneliness. Their new situation may not be as fulfilling as they had hoped. The distractions have worn off, and they are seeking the familiar comfort you once provided. Ego validation. Your silence has created a dent in their ego. They need to know if they still have power over you, if they can still elicit a response. Your reply is the fix they need. Curiosity. You have become a mystery. They are reaching out not to reconnect, but to gather information, to close the open loop in their own mind. Guilt. Time and reflection may have led them to feel guilty, and they are reaching out to assuage their own conscience, not to heal your wounds. Notice that all of these motives are about them. They are seeking something from you: comfort, validation, information, absolution. A return to your life is about serving their needs. A Stoic must then ask the crucial question: does responding serve my tranquility and my values? This is where you apply your fortified reason. You are no longer the person they left. You have invested time and energy in building your peace, your purpose, your inner citadel. Is reopening this door consistent with that work? Will engaging with this person, who has already demonstrated a lack of respect for your well-being, contribute to your flourishing? The answer, in most cases, is a resounding no. To engage is to risk undoing the very work that has brought you to this place of strength. It is to hand them a key to the gates of the citadel you have worked so hard to fortify. Therefore, you have a few Stoic options for a response, each one a demonstration of your reclaimed power. The response of complete silence. This is often the most powerful and purest Stoic response. You simply do not reply. Your lack of response is the response. It communicates more than words ever could: this conversation is closed. Your access to my time and energy has expired. I have nothing to say to you because you are no longer a part of my world. It respects your own peace above all else. It is a clean, final, and undeniable boundary. The response of calm detachment. If silence feels too harsh or if the situation requires some form of polite closure, for example, if you share mutual friends or professional circles, a calm, brief, and unemotional response is an option. To a text like, "Hey, how have you been?" a response could be, "I'm well, hope you are too." That is all. It is polite but sterile. It offers no emotional hooks, no questions, no openings for further conversation. It is a closed door, gently shut rather than slammed. It says, "I acknowledge your existence, but I am not inviting you back into my life." The response of neutrality. To a more direct question, like, "I miss you," the Stoic response is not to engage with the emotion. You do not have to say, "I miss you too," or, "Well, you shouldn't have left." Instead, you can choose to ignore the emotional content entirely or simply not respond. Your focus is on maintaining your own inner peace, not on managing their newfound feelings of regret. The key in all of these options is to remain the master of your own mind. You are not acting out of spite, anger, or a desire for revenge. You are acting from a place of profound self-respect and a commitment to your own tranquility. You have realized, through your Stoic practice, that your peace is more valuable than any conversation with the past. When they receive your silence or your calm, detached response, they will finally understand. They will grasp that they are not dealing with the same person they left behind. The power dynamic has been irrevocably altered. They cannot pull your strings because you are no longer a puppet. You are the one who now holds all the strings to your own life, and you have chosen not to attach any of them to the past. This is the final, quiet victory, not over them, but over the part of yourself that once believed you needed them to be whole. Conclusion: the sovereignty of the self. We have journeyed together through the quiet, formidable landscape of the Stoic response to departure. We began in a chaotic storm of instinct, where the urge to beg, to explain, to block, felt like the only way to reclaim a sliver of control. We learned from the ancient masters that these reactions are but traps of the ego, movements that chain us to the very source of our pain. We then turned inward, to the silent forge of the self, and began the essential work of building our inner citadel. We learned to distinguish between what we can and cannot control, to find urgency and purpose in the face of our own mortality, and to find gratitude in the very events that threaten to break us. We learned that silence is not an emptiness to be feared, but a space to be filled with our own becoming. We explored the profound psychology of the information vacuum, understanding that our unexplained absence forces the other to confront themselves in a way our words never could. And we embraced the roles of the gardener and the spectator, tending to our own lives with such focus that time and reality become our greatest allies, revealing the undeniable truth of our growth. Finally, we prepared for the return of the echo, armed not with anger, but with the serene and unshakable power of our own tranquility. The core lesson of this entire journey is this: the ultimate goal is not to make them regret their decision. That is still a game where they are the center. The true victory, the Stoic victory, is to arrive at a place where their regret is irrelevant to you. It is to reclaim your emotional and spiritual sovereignty so fully that their presence or absence in the world no longer has the power to disturb your inner peace. True power is not the ability to make another person feel loss. True power is to be so rooted in your own worth, your own purpose, and your own peace, that you no longer feel the loss of anyone who was not meant to walk beside you. You have not won when they come back, you have won when you no longer care if they do. That is the freedom that Stoicism offers. It is a freedom forged in discipline, reason, and a profound commitment to your own soul. You become the emperor of your own inner world, and from that throne, you look upon the past not with bitterness, but with a quiet, knowing peace. The chapter is closed. Not because they understood, but because you did. If this journey of reclaiming your power resonated with you, if you felt a shift in your own perspective, then please, help share this wisdom. Like this video to let others know it holds value. Subscribe to BAudio for more deep dives into Stoic philosophy and the art of living a resilient, purposeful life. And most importantly, share your own story of silent strength in the comments below. Your experience could be the beacon of hope that someone else needs to see to begin their own journey. How have you used silence to reclaim your power? Let us create a community of unshakable souls. Thank you for walking this path with me. Stay strong, stay calm, and stay sovereign.